Welcome to your last YouTube video for Mpai 600 here at Georgetown University's Applied Intelligence program. Thank you for the course. Thank you for all your hard work and participation. I hope this course, again, has fulfilled what you're looking for from Georgetown University and hopefully for your future career advancement. What I want to do in this is go over the job talk I went over on Thursday. The slides didn't project for some reason, so I want to make sure those people get through this job talk. But I also want to make sure that everyone else can get access to it as we go forward. Before I do that, again, I just want to say that this, hopefully in this class, you understood the principles of Intel. We didn't go into depth as much as you're going to get in other classes, but this was hopefully a good intro to all the disciplines of intelligence, to the history of intelligence failure, but more importantly, the organizational issues for intelligence failure and success, whether it's, again, private sector, whether it's in the criminal intelligence realm or in the counterterrorism or even the larger strategic intelligence. That's what I'm just hoping that you can carry forward. And no one in your career is going to ask you about Pearl Harbor or Yom Kippur War or any of those old history case studies, but the pathologies that were related to all those issues, whether it's improper collection, whether it's politicization, whether it was poor analytical tradecraft, those are relevant in those large strategic issues that we see now, and you saw in your final in North Korea and Russia, and those are also relevant if you go down to the micro level. Whether you're trying to protect your company's IT systems from cyber attack, whether you're trying to prevent IED attacks in your sector in Iraq or Afghanistan, those same pathologies, whether that's improper collection, poor analysis, politicization impacting assessments, those are all relevant at the more micro levels. So that's hopefully what I want you to think through in this class. And I'll just want to conclude with we talked about failure. Everyone here talked about intelligence failure, and you blamed whether it's Pearl Harbor or the military commanders around Pearl Harbor, the Israelis or Yom Kippur War, or our own intelligence related to 9/11. And there's all great reasons for those failures. But right now, as I speak, we have another Intel failure that's about to come up. The Russians are probably going to hack into the 2018 and 2020 elections. And we have an intelligence failure coming up. In fact, 5 years from now when I teach this class, we'll probably add the case study of Intel failure in the 2018 elections. And despite the fact that we know what's coming, we know the Russians are going to interfere with that election, issues of politicization, issues of bad organization between the federal and states, lack of technical expertise, that is still impacting us now, and that'll probably be an Intel failure in the next year or two. So you can blame all those figures in history, but those same pathologies are happening right now as we speak. So I want to go right into the job talk, and as I mentioned, for those of you who came to the course, I see myself as a resource for you from here on in. I know you're in Georgetown here to get an education and to get a credential, but I think you are owed at least a decent shot for career advancement, especially in this program, which is more geared towards very specific career goals. So again, if you want to talk about careers, give me a call. We can talk in depth. If you want to see me, if you're in the DC area and you want to grab coffee, feel free to talk to me. If a year and a half from now, when you're graduating from the program and you're looking for a job or anything on those lines, and you don't know what direction to go, you're looking for some sort of inlets, give me a call. Again, as I mentioned, as Georgetown paying tuition members, I do think you get me as a resource. So feel free to link in with me. Feel free to keep my email address. And again, don't hesitate at dropping me a note, whether it's the end of this course or 18 months from now or even after you graduate. So job talk, again, just some of the key points I'm going to just bring up here as I brought up on last Thursday. And a lot of people, again, are military transition types. You're either just transition out of the military or looking to, or in the process of transitioning or will transition in a few years. And these are the things that I've seen people fail when they're transitioning to the civilian world. And I think these lessons, while I focus on the military, are definitely applicable if you're a brand new undergrad or looking to change careers as well. So it's not just relevant to them, but some of the issues that I've seen. And again, I've worked with colonels leaving the military, I've worked with privates leaving the military, and everything in between, wounded warriors, highly skilled, not skilled as well. So factor in everything. BAH, medical, basic allowance for housing and your medical. In the military, you get paid pretty well when you throw in all your benefits. You do not get those benefits in the civilian world. So you have to account for that when you're looking for another job. Don't copy and paste your officer evaluation, officer fitness, non-commissioned officer fitness reports into your resume. That's lazy. Don't mention how much property you were signed for, that you're signed for $50,000. That doesn't matter. Say, I was the best lieutenant in my 15-person battalion, or all the 15 lieutenants in my battalion. I organized a $40 million supply room to only take $20 million. Quantify it so it shows that there's an action verb there. I would recommend getting a professional niche resume writer. Police, defense contractors always work. And again, you're trying to particularly if you're government, pay the $300 and make sure that you do it first. And that's how much I paid for a resume. And then you can do it yourself from here on. But again, those niche writers, because you're trying to look for a specific job, are always helpful. Know when to have formalities. Don't expect to be treated like the Queen of England. This goes to the colonels out there, or the sergeant majors, who I don't understand that in the civilian world you don't have secretaries. No one calls you sir. No one will snap to your desk when they come in. That's not how it works. So that's a key point going forward. Understand benefits. Terms like HMO, PPO, 401k match. If those things aren't clear to you in the military, when you're going for a job, they need to be. So you need to know those, because those are things that are kind of spoon-fed to you if you're in the military. No offense to you. Know your worth. The website Glassdoor.com is pretty good about explaining how much a certain person, what's their salary in the Washington, D.C. area for a cyber intel analyst. So go to Glassdoor is probably the best. There might be other websites out there, but they can explain what your salary should be compared to whatever position you're looking for. Transitioning captains, on a similar note, expect a salary cut, unless you're going into some very niche defense contracting. So yeah, that's a key point. The military sets that up so you would have to get a salary cut. It's easier in the civilian world, and sometimes it's harder. Yeah, that's I hate to say this, but if you're in the military, you get paid no matter what. You get paid for breathing, essentially. In the civilian world, you're going to get paid. Someone's going to ask you, your salary is X. Are you bringing in this much for revenue for the company? Particularly if you're looking for a defense contractor. In fact, when I worked on the business development side for a defense firm, we calculated to the dollar how productive you were and how much overhead you were soaking up, and how much you were bringing in per hour for the company. We calculated that. That, again, in the business world, especially defense contracting, that's what they care about. Get inside your boss's head, make his or her life easier. Don't just do your job, know how to do your boss's job. That's success point in the military, success point in the civilian world, success point in defense contracting, pretty much any industry you go into. Don't expect automatic promotions and assignments. I can't emphasize this enough. If you want to advance, particularly as a federal employee, you have to change jobs. Sometimes, especially if you're above a GS-12 position, you have to get a new job. So you can go to a 13, you need a new job to get to a 14. You're not going to get automatically promoted. It's not like in the military where it's, everyone makes captain this year and major this year. So keep that in mind. Again, especially if you're a federal employee or even if you're in a normal business, defense business unit. So I get a question about Fed versus contractor. The Fed, more opportunities to advance. Advantages are, again, more opportunities to advance. There's fellowships if you're a federal employee. You can work on Capitol Hill. You can do all sorts of things that might not be available to a contractor. As a federal employee, you have the ability to change an organization. This is something that's, again, as a contractor, they don't really want, sometimes they want your opinion, but they don't really want your opinion. I hate to say it that way, to actually make the organization more efficient. Downsides for being a Fed, there's furloughs. I got furloughed a couple of times this past year. And the pay, low pay, sometimes in the old days, lower pay than being a contractor. I think it's evened out a little bit now. So contractor, again, tend to have higher pay, and some niche contractors, particularly in the cyber world, definitely get paid more than their federal counterparts. A little bit more flexibility as a contractor. You can move around easier, you can get hired on easier, you can get fired easier. And then the last point's a disadvantage for being a contractor is job security. But I'll be honest, if you do your job well, you'll always have a job. That's just the reality of it. So USA Jobs resume, just a key point, your USA Jobs resume should be, or federal resume should be several pages long paragraphs, lots of long sentences. I give you my example here. But just keep in mind, you would never do this for a defense contractor. They want short 1-2 page resumes, bullets that really encapsulate you. In a federal resume, long paragraphs are the norm. So interviews. I've been on both sides of the interview. I've given interviews, and I've definitely been on the other side being interviewed. And one thing I will say, how to market your degree, always say, I had this happen to me when I was giving a job interview, and it's like, why should we hire you? And the question that came up was, he said, well, the answer was, well, you should hire me because I bring in two different sets. I have an education, and he had a master's degree from Georgetown, but I also have real-world experience in the military overseas, and I can bring those two halves to provide a perspective you wouldn't get in normal candidates. And he went on to say that there's a lot of people with graduate degrees from good schools in Washington, and there's a lot of people who might have some military or special experience in Washington. Rarely do you find both. I thought that was a very good way to couch why we should hire him. In fact, I made a job offer to him that day. So I think that's a good way to market your degree, whether it's in interviews or on your LinkedIn account or what have you, to really get in with your clients or get in for a job opportunity. A couple of issues: people did not check the website. That's, if you're applying for a position, that's checkable. That's something you should always do. You'd be amazed how many people are too informal. They think that, I don't know why they think this. Maybe people who they're transitioning out of the military and they say you need to get rid of military formalities, and that's fine. But don't go in an interview and call people Sarah, John, Joe. Yeah, no, that's not. Say sir or ma'am, and most of the time they'll just say, just call me Rowan. But wait till they let you say that. And you'd be surprised. Again, being on the interviewer panel, far too many people were too informal than being too formal. Did not explain how to be value added. Always explain, I can increase sales, increase production, take your section to be a lot more organized than it was before. Explain that in your job interview. And finally, ask a question. In fact, ask this question. Sir or ma'am, what do you want me to accomplish in my first 30 days? What do you want me to accomplish in my first 90 days? What do you want me to accomplish in my first year? Though that question is a golden answer to give in any job interview. You'd be surprised how many people say, I don't have any questions at the end of the interview. They try and make it out to be like they know everything, or that's the impression I get. But always have a question. Show that you've done your research, and I think asking the question I just mentioned is a great way to get your foot in the door. So other key points, every internship, this is important, every agency has an internship geared towards graduate students that you are now competitive for just because you are in this program. Presidential Management Fellowship, CIA, Homeland Security, NGA, National Security Agency, all have internships geared towards grad students. Apply to them now. Some of them work where they'll give you your clearance while you're an intern, and then a year from now, you can apply for your full-time job. That's a key point. Use the alumni network at Georgetown to get into a large defense contract, especially if you don't have a clearance. The large defense contractors, Booz Allen, BAE Systems, Lockheed Martin, they can pay for a clearance. The small defense contractors cannot. So my recommendation is to use the Georgetown network to get an in one of those large defense contractors, especially if you're not a veteran or you're looking for something a little bit more flexible before you go and become a federal employee. And Georgetown, just by its nature, has a lot of employees at the big defense contractors. And in fact, I did not know this, and maybe I'm behind on the times, but LinkedIn can tell you, how many alumni work at Lockheed Martin, how many alumni work at Booz Allen, how many alumni work at Leidos. So use that. And personally, if someone from Georgetown, I went to Georgetown as a grad student, emailed me and said, hey, even if I didn't know that person, but they emailed me, said they were young, looking for a job, or looking for more an informational coffee, I'd probably have coffee with them. I mean, that shows initiative. So that would be one recommendation I have. USA jobs without veterans preference, yeah, that's a hard sell. I don't, whether you think that's right or wrong, we can debate, but that might be problematic. And then some people might work on Capitol Hill. These are just two opportunities that are on Capitol Hill that I think people can benefit from that are geared towards newly separated veterans. There's different pathologies for working on Capitol Hill. I won't go into them now, but just want people to be informed that opportunity is available. So thank you for your participation in class. And if there's anything you need in the future, don't hesitate to ask. And again, the final paper for those who still need to do it is due Tuesday, 11:59 p.m. I'm not going to be too flexible on extensions. So have a good week and good luck with the rest of the program.